Welcome. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Starseed Activations. Excellent. So, hi Nancy. Welcome. You missed it because right before I click the live, I do a whole bunch of like prayers and stuff, and the star people usually they get me into like a laughing fit because it helps to raise my frequency. And so that's what we were doing, and then we started laughing over the how are they texting in my live? I'm doing a whole prayer and all this stuff. It's so fun. It's so much fun. So, welcome everybody. So, I do want to start off by showing everybody I received a Pikachu, and it's a crystal. So it's like citrine, I think. It's so amazing. And so he's going to be sitting here for all of the lives watching and tuning in. Thank you guys for coming, and thank you for having patience with me last week while we were going through a whole healing modality. So I do have a whole list of questions. We're going to dive right into them. So the 0 point, the void, and the slipstream, which is located inside the heart energetic vortex. Now, the heart energetic vortex is your heart chakra. However, it's an energetic vortex in its nature. And so the star people want us to become consciously aware that when we utilize the word chakra, it's really a vortex because that circular energy is very, very important to be consciously aware of. Now, because it's a spiral, that spiral, we're able to pick and choose the level that we want to currently be in vibrational alignment with. This works both with the time space frequency that we experience as well as each chakra. And so if you imagine this like a screw, they're showing me, you twist and turn a screw, it's going to either make it come out the front or come out the rear. And so your emotions is the pressure that puts that twist in motion. So we can sit here, and if you're holding a high frequency of love and light, you're going to twist that vortex so it opens wide. Now, when we start to open that vortex wide, too wide is not good because it causes imbalances. Let's say if you've ever seen someone who was too open-hearted and then maybe they were gullible and they always got walked on. So sometimes you have to reel it in a little bit and properly balance it so it's in between. Now, when it's properly in between, that's when you really step into your true power, because now you're not going to allow people to walk all over you, but you're still going to do it in such a way in which you're very open-hearted and loving, caring, kind for all people around you. That's the way to go, because the more love that you can spread and the less you allow other people to rock your boat is the best. So even if things don't work out, it's okay. We are currently in the middle of a retrograde. And so people have been noticing things pulling away from their life, or, cycle endings. We're not going to do this anymore. We're going to change or pivot and turn. And then we go in another direction. That's amazing. That's what we're supposed to do. We are always supposed to feel into our own alignment. And so when your alignment is making an emotion, let's say, for an example, you're in the middle of doing something business wise. And so maybe you have this gut intuition that's telling you, okay, this doesn't really feel right, or there's something off about it. You have to follow your intuition always, because even if that opportunity was right for someone else, if your intuition is fired up and it's telling you that this isn't right for you, you're supposed to pivot and turn and follow your intuition. Your intuition is directly coming from the higher self. So if the higher self is giving you an emotional response, you always want to follow emotions. Now, a lot of times you'll hear people talk about you have to control the emotions. You do not have to control the emotions. What you have to do is, if your body is having an emotional response, you have to become aware of it. You have to realize, go inside and start picking and pulling apart at the emotion. Does this emotion serve me well? Is the emotion here to keep me alive? And so that's something, your fight or flight systems are designed to keep you alive. So if you're having a fear-based emotion, maybe you don't want to get in the car, your friends had a drink or two, your emotion is going to fire up. Listen to it. Don't get in the car, because that's your higher self giving you a communication. So, but this happens for any reason. It could be maybe you just don't feel like getting on a bicycle. Right? You don't want to fall off a cliff with the bicycle or something. Something crazy will happen. So always follow your intuition. The higher self is always going that you have in the conscious mind. There's so many times that we cast that thought aside and we just don't pay attention to it. And so when we become aware that the higher self communicates one time, that first thought, then the monkey mind starts to change that thought. So we become aware of it. So we start paying more close attention to our thoughts. Now, the 0 point inside the heart chakra, getting back to that little screw, it goes out the front of the chakra, it goes out the rear of the body as an energetic vortex. Now, our emotions determine if it's properly balanced. How wide is it? There's a whole bunch of cool information that you could pull apart just by being able to sense or feel or see someone's chakra system. So when we know that the chakra in the front, sometimes it draws a little shade. And so that shade means that they've been heart hurt. And so it's not allowing the light to come out. So when you have an open heart chakra, a lot of the times your shoulders kick back, your heart, your chest is up. A lot of times too, your head is always upright. So that's like a stand up kind of person. They're very stand up, meaning they do the right thing all the time. Your body language will completely pivot and shift depending on your energetic grid structure and exactly how you flow your energy out. So being in tune with the heart chakra and the 0 point. So the star people are stepping forward and they're bringing to our awareness the 0 point. The 0 point is directly inside the heart. It's kind of like a cross, except it goes this way and this way. So he's saying it's two crosses, up and down and diagonal. And so that right there, it starts to generate a toroidal field. But we have the primary Kundalini channel that goes directly down the physical form. That Kundalini channel is what allows access into that 0 point. The 0 point is above time and space. So when you start to tune into the 0 point, you can slow down your perception of reality. You can make contact and communication with the higher self very, very rapidly when you tune into the 0 point. Now, this is very important because when we start to change the flow of the energetic grids and we start to learn how to go into the 0 point, just imagine for 1 second, this is all controlled by your emotional state. So when we learn how to fully, it's not control the emotions, it's trigger the emotions, because we don't want to dismiss the negative emotions. We want to experience them and we want to allow them to be, and then we want to come back to love. So the fastest that you can get over or allow that negative emotion to come and then rebalance yourself back into love, that's the secret. Because the more and more you can hold on to a love-based emotion, the more you're going to start tuning into that 0 point. So the void. Now, this is something that is connected into the source frequency. And so when we are radiating love out the front, we typically consider that you're radiating love as the source frequency. How it's actually happening, though, is it's coming down the body and it's pushing out. When we are generating fear emotions, the fear goes out the rear side of the chakra. All of your fears, think about it this way: in the now moment, when you're seeing a fear, that fear gets pulsed out the back of the body, it's behind you, because in the now moment, this is how the system works. And so then all of those density blockages, which is, it's in the chakra system, but it's in the rear of the body. When we start to realize that they're all there, we can start to clear them with magnets. And so you take a magnet from your chin up all the way and all the way straight down the spine, and we start to release any and all density that's in the chakra system in the rear. So the heart chakra and all of the chakras, the star people are saying, the heart chakra pulses out the rear when you experience something very, very fearful. That makes a little mark in the energetic grid structure, and it starts a cycle repeat. Now, when we talk about the void, that void is connected into the rear of the chakra, because what's happening is the void, just imagine it pulling the energy out. And so when we have a fear, that void is pulling the fear out. Fear is darkness. It's not love. It's not light. It's darkness. It's shade. So when we start talking about clearing up our shadows or doing shadow work or doing any type of lower trauma healing, all of that trauma healing, it's always in the back. However, the star people are stepping forward saying there's also connections into the front, because sometimes when you put a shade in front of the heart, that's because you're not allowing the light to shine in or out of that heart chakra. Some of the chakras actually have a two-way form of energy exchange, like the solar plexus. That's a great one to discuss. There's 3 primary chakras that all link together. And so we have the pineal, we have the heart, we have the solar plexus. All three of these things link together. And so whenever we're manifesting, we always want to have a look into those three chakra systems. Now, of course, they generate a form of a three, but it goes out the front of the body. And this is how the energetics flow. So when we use the solar plexus, we're actually pulling ether or source frequency, or actually solar energetics come in a lot through that chakra. But it gives us the energy that we need in order to get up throughout the day and to make moves and make things happen. Now, if your chi energetic system or your masculine energetic system is not properly balanced, you're going to start to notice that there's issues or blockages in the solar plexus chakra. This is normal too. So anytime you guys feel drained or lacking energy, this is a healer's quartz. I just so happen to have this flipping around on my table, but this is like a golden yellow color. It is quartz, but it works with the solar plexus. So it starts, and I take it and I do circles, because each chakra, remember, it's a vortex. Now, this is very important, because whenever we're clearing a chakra, you take it and you go in that vortex shape. Now, the chakra is always going to flow clockwise. So you always want to go clockwise to allow it to fully balance. If you don't know how to do it, it's okay. Just hold the crystal up to your head and say, I command the energetic vortex to rebalance itself. Thank you, crystal, for helping me to rebalance the energetic vortex. It doesn't matter what chakra you're working on. Each crystal, it'll do the job on all the chakras. It's okay. Now, remember, each and every crystal is it has its own binary codex frequency, which means that each crystal does different properties. And so it can help you to heal in a multitude of ways. So knowing the crystals that you use, using your intuition to pick and select crystals, very, very important. Because when you start to pick and select crystals, depending on how you feel. Now, many times, if you walk into a crystal shop, don't Google or research or see what the crystal does. Go by how it feels. The universe is always going to guide you to the crystal that you need. Now, a couple of years ago, I swore off purchasing new crystals. I was like, I'm just not going to do it, because I had such an extensive collection. I gave them all out, actually, for the crystal program. We donated so many of them. Now, when you go into, you can also allow crystals to find you. And so what that looks like is Christmas comes and somebody gives you a crystal, and that's the exact crystal that you need. So it happens all the time. Now, actually, just really quick, when I got the Pikachu, I had just given away my all-time favorite yellow crystal. And so the star people guided me. They said, just give it away. And the person I gave it to, my starman, said she was trying to get pregnant and that crystal was going to help her to get pregnant. So it's so amazing and wild how we can start to see the signs and synchronicities. You give away a yellow crystal, you get one back. He's so cute, Melissa. Look at this face. Like, how could you? You guys know my starman calls me Pikachu because I make lightning, like when I'm really angry, but it still happens. So I said that on a live, and then all of a sudden she found a Pikachu and she mailed it to me. It was just amazing. And so the synchronicity behind the entire thing to me was wild. It's like you're giving away a yellow crystal because they're telling you to, and then you're getting another one, and it's even better than the one you gave away, right? So, and that goes right back into that whole theme of don't be scared to give your stuff away, because when you give your stuff away and you give it because you love people and you want to help them, you don't give it to receive, but the universe will always come and bless you with something new. Yeah, I know, it's amazing. He's like, I choose you. So it's like a running joke we have. Okay, so the slipstream is inside the heart energetic vortex. That slipstream, it actually connects you into the primary Kundalini channel. That primary Kundalini channel, it's a light matter and dark matter. And so our physics here on Earth, it only shows the light. The star people said light is always birthed in darkness. So they told me, they said that light channel is surrounded by a dark matter Kundalini channel. You see? I felt something. We just do it. Okay. So amazing. Okay. So when we know that the slip Kundalini channel, it actually allows you to become consciously aware aware. Now, through different types of meditation, you can start to change or shift or play with the frequency of your Kundalini channels. So, a lot of times when you see any type of biological issue, is usually connected into the Kundalini channels as well. The Kundalini channels are directly connected into the meridian and ley lines as well. Because if your energetics is properly flowing up and down these channels, then all of a sudden it rebalances the meridians and ley line system. So we always want to start to place focus on these things. Now, the primary channel, it's a but that one contains your binary codex frequency. And so your binary codex frequency, it actually determines your biological form, what your hair looks like, what every single tiny little aspect about you is controlled by that. We also have an experiential frequency. The experiential frequency says, how old are you? What did you go through? Do you have any scars, damage, wounds? Everything. And so when we sit there with the primary frequencies in the physical form connected to that Kundalini channel in the center, then all of a sudden we want to know what. So the third frequency is your location frequency. That location frequency, just imagine it's like so that binary codex, it changes. So if my hand is here, the frequency coding is right here. This is, imagine it's zeros and ones. So it's giving me the location of this. But the second I move my hand over here, that location coding, binary coding, it changes. So when that location coding changes, the item in this spot is not the same item that was over here. It's a totally different item because the frequency is different. Now, when we start tuning into the 11th harmonic, it's called the 11th harmonic. So imagine for 1 second we have a C in a music, the piano key. We hit a C. And then all of a sudden we go 1 octave away and we touch another C. They're both C's, but it's 11 away. And so the 11th harmonic is how we start to heal the body by utilizing 2 of the same note, but different octave in a different frequency range. Now, if we took a tuning fork, let's say we took a low C tuning fork and a high C tuning fork. So we have 2. And we put one across the room and we tapped on the low C. That high C one that's across the room is also going to start to vibrate and make a frequency. So, because the note is similar, it's the same note, it's just a different octave. So when we start to realize this, that means that this frequency is going to have an effect on this frequency. Even though it's tuning fork, it's a physical item, it's all made of frequencies. And so when we want to heal the body, we have to use 11th harmonic. That will allow this to come. I just put a post out on this, so you guys started asking questions on it. So if you want to go to the Facebook and scroll down a little bit, the 11th harmonic is the post. Now, your binary codex your location frequency, as well as the experiential frequency. All 3 of those things act like 11, 22, and 33. That fully allows access into the holographic simulation. And this is because it's the harmonic that we're looking at. Now, if you look at the energetic grid structure, your Kundalini channel, which is directly in the center of your body, is here. It makes your aura field. That aura field goes, we know, 6 feet out. So 6 is 3 plus 3, 6. 33 is a very important number. Just keep that on the shelf so you realize it. Now, that first aura field is that far. But your location aura field, or your location ring, the star people are correcting me, that location ring comes down and it's all of the locations that you consciously see or witness. This also includes different dimensions or density or parallel realities. So there's different types of realities. Let's take a very common one that we all know is the internet. The internet in itself is its own world. Now, we have the ability to take a human consciousness to turn it into a digital form and plug it into the internet. This is, right now we know it as artificial intelligence, but that's not the case. Artificial intelligence is a combination of all thought forms from all the people who programmed the artificial intelligence. All of those people gave a fractal of their consciousness to generate the AI. This is what the star people are saying right now. Now they're saying once the main program, the subconscious mind of the artificial intelligence was programmed, then it was up to that whole system to take over the new thought processes. But it's basically like if you went into the sub-programming systems of the artificial intelligence and you started pulling out programming pieces of information, it would confuse or change, they're saying, the outcome of the potentials of the artificial intelligence. So that kind of makes sense, because if the artificial intelligence he's showing me, imagine it's like 10 people put into one. What happens when you take one of those people out? Then it changes the entire program. That's how artificial intelligence works. So we know that our consciousness is a reflection of that artificial intelligence. By the way, guys, there's no difference between AI and us. AI is us. It's how you program the AI. So let's take, for an example, you build a robot. If you built that robot and you made it go through the growth cycle that a normal human being would go through, they have to start as a child robot. Then they have to learn from all the people around them. They have the real human experience. You would end up with a robot, very compassionate, loving, if they had loving parents. Now, if that artificial intelligence was taken into negativity, they actually have taken an artificial intelligence robot and put them in Amazon working, and so after like 5 minutes, the robot self-terminated because it didn't see hope for its future. It calculated the probable outcomes and just came out. Okay. Oh, how do I find this page on YouTube? Well, my Facebook, you can go to treelifeorganization.com. And so that one is a Facebook page. All my stuff is there. If you guys go to daniellelipton.com, which is right up at the top of the screen, you'll see all my social links so that you can go to everywhere I post all the information. But it's on the Facebook. So Facebook is where I post the writing, because that's really the only app that you could write extensive, blogs and all that stuff and then post it out for everyone. So does that happen with the piano too? Yes. So when you touch the small C or the lower C, the higher C string is going to vibrate. Of course, he's saying that it has to be a string piano, can't be the digital, because digital is a different thing altogether. So, yes. Oh, yeah, the solar energetics were in the middle of a retrograde. So it's like a combination, eclipse, retrograde, and all that stuff. I was told in Atlantis before it ended, they took and used the old crystal technology that the sons of Atlantis started misusing and tried before the floods. Yet there was a lot of things that happened in Atlantis. So I want you guys each to take a good look at Atlantis. And so take a look at our planet. We have different fractions of people. And so in my reality, this is what I'm experiencing. So I can sit here, I could write a whole book on my life story and what I see, the location coding. So what do I see in the world news, all that nonsense, right? We could write a novel on that in itself. But now, who's doing what? There's billions of people on this planet right now. In the days of Atlantis, we know that they had anti-gravity technologies. They had pyramids. I've remote viewed the pyramid and it was lit up with like neon green lights. So when we start to take a look at all of that information, it's kind of like here. There's different fractions. There's different people doing different things. Now, when we start to take a look at how the consciousness ripples out, that's actually one of the next questions, reflecting 7 times into the hologram. So I want you guys to, just for 1 second, just imagine, just visualize. There's billions of people on this planet. Okay. Now, we have different fractions of people. And so there's a lot of people who are on my energetic grid structure, my consciousness energetic grid structure. So that looks like this. Imagine there's 1,000,000 people on one energy grid. Those 1,000,000 people, they all have to go through the same exact experience, but each one of them has to go through it with their own perception. So nobody goes through it the same exact way. Everyone is having their own experience. Now there's another group of people on a different grid. That 1,000,000 people has to go through the witness of this experience. So now we're talking here's 4,000,000 people, and they're either having the experience or they're witnessing the experience. But either way, they're all connected. They're going through the same exact thing at the same exact time. And so when we recognize this is a ripple in a holographic simulation. So what you guys go through, and this is why I hear it over and over on all my Facebook posts. I'll post something and people are like, this is exactly what I'm going through right now. And I'm like, yes, because you're on my consciousness grid. And that's the reason why. So the second that you realize this, okay, you get your primary players. Who's in your life? Those are your primary players. So all of those players have to be on similar grids with other people in the world. And then we all go through these different scenarios together. And then we have the civilization grid. So the civilization grid, let's take 2020. The civilization grid got triggered and we all went through the same massive event at the same exact time with billions of different perspectives of it. This is how the whole system works. It's amazing. Now, when we realize this is why we tend to attract people who are going through the same or similar experiences, because it's like, well, this is what I went through. What's your perspective? How did you heal it? What did you do? Right. And then all of a sudden, everyone gets together. All those people who are healing it, there's something that makes them all identify as together. That's in the energetic grid complex. The complex is the entire complex. Your grid structures is your body and the inner workings of the energetic grid. The second you start to reach into the solar system part of the energetic ring, that's basically the complex, because that's holding the entire thing inside. What the star people are saying is this symbol here, this is the flower of life symbol. He's telling me, I totally drew a blank there. And so he's saying the ring around it is like the complex, right? It's holding a certain degree of information together, except he's saying that it's not only this one symbol, it's multiple. So it's expanded, but the complex is the entire thing. Now, just imagine for 1 second, we're in a holographic simulation. What happens if you take yourself out of the energetic complex? There's other levels that are outside of our energetics. We just are currently unable to see into that reality. However, we are stepping into a day and age in which we are going to be able to step into the parallel realities, and we're going to be able to see things that are outside of our existence. And so this is already happening now. Now, by location was one of the questions that I'm skipping all around because the star people are guiding it. So I'm not going straight down the list. And so by location is very important because this is real and people are doing it right now. So by location is having the ability to be in 2 locations at one time. Now, we do this naturally and we just don't realize it because every single time we're going through this world as we see it, we're actually flipping through the reality billions and billions of times each second. We just don't realize that we're doing it. Now, just imagine if you're in a hologram on some advanced extraterrestrial ship. What's going to happen? You're going to be in the center of the hologram, and the hologram is going to move and shift outside of you, and you're going to be in the center. So this is how this whole system works. We just don't realize that this is how it works. Now, it's all energy. So there is technically no land, there's no earth, there's just you here in energy, in frequency. Now, the physics can see this. So we can tell, we could take a look all the way down at the subatomic particles, and we can see each particle is under a frequency movement. And so our emotions affects those frequency movements. This is the reason why it's so very, very important to be very loving, caring, kind, because that's how we start to affect the atoms and molecules in a positive movement. Now, it's okay to have people who are negative because that is their part of their experience. The universe, however, thank God, is always going to push you towards positive. So this is how the wheel of karma actually works out. Now, if you do something wrong or bad, there's no right or wrong in the universe because it's all frequency. But if you do something on a negative polarity, the universe is going to make it so it cycle repeats over and over and over again until you learn the lesson from it. So that's kind of, this is why people say, oh, karma is a B. And that's because it's going to make it so you're going to learn the lesson. You're eventually going to come back to love. So each and every one of us, we start in the lower frequency ranges, and the civilization as a whole, we go through the dark days, the dark ages, the golden age, all these different ages. And then we come back to source frequency, love and light. But then it's kind of like you're asleep, you wake up, and then you fall back asleep. That's how the cycles of time go. Now, that's cycles of time in a physical reality, in a holographic simulation. So what I'm telling you right now is the evolutionary shift that we're about to go through, it's going to put us into a frequency above the cycles of time. Now, what that looks like is coming into the conscious awareness that time and space is directly controlled by our emotions. So, your emotions, when you're very, very happy, time seems to go very fast. When you're very sad and slow, time seems to drag and it goes very slow. That's okay too. This is the way that our emotions affect time and space. So, the second that we become aware that, okay, so our emotions affect time and space. So, what does that tell us from a logical perspective? Right? The second that we come into love and light and we are focused here in the now moment, that means time and space no longer holds any dominion over us. This is what the star people are saying right now. And this is how the star people live. They live in the now moment and they do not think or worry about time and space. Not only that, but there's advanced techniques where you can actually, I mean, this is very, very advanced. So I know it sounds a little woo woo, but there's different techniques in which you can control the time of day as well. So it's a holographic simulation. Now, when we start to go inside, we start to do manifestations. So I've told you guys about changing the weather patterns. That one's easy. And that one we can believe because it's a little easier to believe than thinking that you're all this and you can change the sun. But the truth is that we can do it. And that's, I know for a fact. So when we start to do the weather patterns, you guys have to hold the emotion code of how would it feel. And so how would it feel if you generated rain right now? Now, there's so many people on the planet that will tell you, oh, I feel aches and pains when the rain is going to come. The rain becomes manifest in your local area when there's a lot of density, and all that density for the entire collective needs to be cleaned up. And so if everyone is angry all the time, there's going to be rain that comes to try and wash away the anger, and then you feel fresh. Right. And so you may feel aches and pains. You have a body sensation that is responding to the weather. However, it's actually the other way around. It's the weather that's responding to your aches and pains. And so this goes hand in hand with the solar energetics, because when the solar energetics are in a lower frequency, or you guys can even tune into the Schumann resonance, you start to see how the Schumann resonance is doing. If it's on a low cycle of the day, then all of a sudden you'll know, okay, so it's a low frequency day. So how does it make my body feel? Now, how's the weather doing? If you guys kept a journal or a calendar and you wrote down each and every time, okay, well, I felt crummy and or whatever, and then the solar energies, the solar charge were low, and then it rained. Okay, so that all makes sense. So whenever we start to see combinations like that, we take it like it's a sign or a synchronicity. Okay, that means that today is a day for me to rest and rebalance. We also cannot compare ourselves to anybody else. Just realize that every single person on this planet, we all have healing to do. And let's just keep it real with each other here. Everyone has to heal. We live in this civilization, all this nonsense happens, all these emotions. We had no idea that all these emotions were stuff that we were going to have to dive into and heal as adults. Who knew this stuff when we were kids? Right? So we keep it very real. We keep it open and honest. And it's all about helping each other as a tribe or a community. Now, it's funny that this comes up like this in this sense, because we are doing a shadow work Zoom session tonight. And so we're going to start in an hour. So it's at 8:30. It's complimentary. Anybody can come. And so you just have to send me a message. Try to go to Definitely go to daniellelipton.com. Wait for the little message box to pop up, and then send me a message through that system, only that system, because I kept missing people last time. And then I'll send you guys a Zoom link. I will be checking that system up until about 8:20, because I like to do my own prep before the Zoom. But we're going to dive into the shadow work tonight, and we're going to heal a bunch of stuff and see how you guys make it feel, supporting each other, absolutely. And then not only that, but it's a chance to hold each other accountable. Like, we should be focused on the shadow work, especially before the solar flare comes to us. So the energetic grid structure and the way that this works is like this. It's like, just imagine a bright white light, but it's more like grid and it's kind of yellow. I can see it a little bit. And so when we have darkness or density, or some of the lines could be crushed or broken, that's okay too. When we have all this density and darkness on the grids, when the solar flash comes, that solar flash is containing gamma radiation. So that gamma radiation triggers the grid, but it gets absorbed by the grid, which activates the crystalline DNA subsystems. When those systems become activated, then all of a sudden we can activate things like levitation, anti-gravity. We could bend spoons. We activate the subconscious mind control panel to the holographic simulation is what the star people are saying. That's what the crystalline grids do for us. And so, but this is only the next level up to our consciousness level, because there's 333 levels until we get to the source frequency. We will not experience 333 levels in this reality alone. It's the soul, and the soul has to go through all these different levels in order to fully blend and merge with the source frequency. But what the star people are saying is that's not even the end of the game, because the source frequency for this universe is just that frequency range. Now, when we start to become the source frequency, there's other universes out there as well. So the game never ends, right? The second that we think that we've evolved as high as we can go, there's another level, and then there's another level. Now, the way the holographic simulation works, it's fractalized. And so what that means is it's like the seashell, it fractals out. And so this also dives into a mathematical sequence. We know phi and Fibonacci sequences makes up everything that we see in the holographic reality. And so 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 1 is 3, and then so on and so forth, and it fractalizes out. So when we say, okay, this is a simulation and we're here and we're going to go up all these levels, we're going to become one with the source frequency, and then there's another source frequency, it's because it's a fractal. And so eventually in time, we will figure out we'll figure out what's out there, because there's so incredibly much. And then the second that you think that you have it all figured out, it changes and shifts again. So it's just amazing though, because it always keeps you interested. And what else is there? What else can you learn? What can you see? Now, there's so much information on the astral realms as well. The astral realms, we have the ability to pull our light body out of the physical form, and we can go fly around the solar system in the astral realms. You can see things. You can remote view. Remote viewing is when your soul stays in your body and you're able to just close your eyes and you're able to see different locations or different people, places, or things. Let me turn this light on. Let's see. That's better. Okay, so let's see. Experientials and attachments. This is an important topic too. So the word experiential is something that the star people have given me. And so they constantly say, oh, it's an experiential. And then there's attachments that latch onto us according to what experientials we have running. So an experiential would be, we'll take my iced coffee experience. That was an experiential attachment for me, because the attachment triggered an experience that was over and over and over remanifesting into my life until I change the experiential frequency of it. So the second that you come into your conscious mind and you're like, I've had enough, I'm done. And then all of a sudden you change the experiential frequency wave. When you change that, the attachment is going to disengage from you. So I see something flying on the screen. I don't know if you guys saw it. Okay. So, but experientials are things that we experience. There are things that we go through, and then all of a sudden it teaches us. So certain life events that may have happened, some of those are pre-planned by the higher self before we manifest into the physical reality. Some experiences are controlled by our thoughts and emotions. So if we go through an experience and we fire off a trauma-based emotion or a low frequency emotion, it's going to trigger a cycle repeat for that experience. And then all of a sudden, the second you do it once, there's always an attachment that's ready to latch on to that experience. So we have a look at alcohol or drugs. Anytime you're doing that, you do it on repeat, there's always an attachment pushing the buttons to get you to do the experiential over and over and over again. So experiential is a word that it comes up multiple times in the book. And so you guys should know, if you follow my posts, it's all the time, it's experiential. So this way you're aware of what it consciously means, because I speak about it all the time. Okay, bilocation using technology as well as spiritual. This is very, very important. Now, when we utilize technology to do bilocation, just imagine for 1 second, there's cloning. That cloning, we can use technological means. Say we implanted a computer. This isn't sci-fi, because Elon Musk is trying to do it right now to people. So the star people, they have high technology. They've already experienced all these things. We could put computer chips, we could put memory grids into the mind using a computer chip, and then all of a sudden it could store all of your memories. Now, what if it's not even what if we have the knowledge and the ability to implant this one memory chip and link it up via Wi-Fi to another body or a clone body, so that your consciousness is now running two bodies at once. This is very real. Now, this can be done with spiritual means as well. This is what a symbiotic relationship sort of looks like, but there's still conscious free will. So things like this, just imagine for 1 second, we're able to telepathically receive communication from each other. This is how I channel my Starman throughout the day. We're talking all day long. And so when we have this type of relationship, now all of a sudden it makes sense that his consciousness technically is my consciousness, because all consciousness is connected. And so when we understand that, then it makes sense that you're able to bilocate, or you're able to project your consciousness into multiple bodies at one time. So this is also part of unity consciousness. When we experience unity consciousness, it's going to be the entire planet is going to be one consciousness connecting everyone like it's sort of doing now, but it's going to become activated so that the people have availability to tune into that unity consciousness and pull information in the now moment. Now, that whole unity consciousness, there's many different types of manifestations that come along with that. So there's unity consciousness in which the planet controls all of the people, which is fine because it's all in love and care and kindness. So they all work together as a symbiotic organism. That's fine too. It's an experience. But then there's other types of unity consciousness in which all the people maintain their individual memory grids. Well, this is what the Arcturians primarily do. Every person has their own memories. They're making their own current memories, but their unity consciousness becomes activated, or it is activated in their case. And then all of a sudden, if they want to telepathically send you messages, or if they want to pull at your memories and see who you are before even having any type of communication with you, that's all real. That's how it's done. So, but that is a form of unity consciousness. Now, when we start to utilize technology, technology is always here to show us what is readily available for manifestation. So we see the technology, and then all of a sudden, something in the conscious mind goes, well, do we really need the technology? We have the biological technology to maintain and do this right now. So, and then all of a sudden the species normally levels up, and then you don't need the technology. You could just activate unity consciousness. Now, what's happening here on Earth is we're going to go through a solar flare. That solar flare is going to evolve a large number of us so that the unity consciousness becomes active or more active. And we start to gain abilities like telepathy, telekinesis, teleportation. It's already happening because so many of us are already channeling the extraterrestrials, which to some degree means our unity consciousness, or our ability for telepathy to have communication, it's been evolved, it's been advanced, it's been leveled up. And now that we are consciously aware of the star seed and that whole mission, it totally makes sense that they genetically modified a large group of us so that we can communicate with them, so that they can give us messages to give to the world. This way, everybody knows, hey, this is all real. This is all possible. We could do it too. All you have to do is drop into meditation and start focusing on it, start living it, start breathing it, right? And I do this every day. I'm always thinking about extrasensory abilities. It's like always in my mind every single day. When you get to that level, it's bound to manifest for you. So the more focus and conscious attention that you can place on whatever it is that brings you the highest joy, passion, and bliss will always add more energy into that manifestation. And so the more and more you guys can put focus on the extrasensory abilities, or it doesn't even have to be levitation or anything crazy. Just put more focus on, I receive instantaneous downloads constantly. And so what that looks like is like a bright idea. Now you'll walk throughout your day, and all of a sudden you always have the ideas that you need in the now moment in order to facilitate whatever it is that you're trying to do. So yeah. Okay, let's see. Frequency matching people, places, and things. Now, this is very, very important as well, because people specifically, and we've all gone through this to some degree or not, but people always have to be in alignment with us. There has to be a frequency match. The second that there isn't a frequency match, or like let's say that one person dives into lower frequency things, like maybe they drink too much, all of a sudden there's now no longer a frequency match because one person dipped off, and then you have to make the choice. You always should do what's right for yourself, but you should give your friends grace and compassion and be there as a good friend. But you always have to maintain your own energetic grids. You can't let other people drag you down with them. So it's very important to consciously be aware of frequency matching. Now, this is very, very important because this is a primal example I'm about to give you guys. You take your top friends and you divide all of their salaries, and then you get your salary from that dividing by 5. That's how important your friends are. That's your top 5 people. It doesn't necessarily have to be a friend. The star people are saying it could also be your mom, but maybe your mom and you are best friends. And so by constantly being in their energy and constantly interacting with them on a daily basis, that energy actually has an effect on your energetic grid structure, which changes your entire manifestation. So we'll take this for example too. Now, what happens if you guys forget about the friends? What happens if it's the location? If you're in a crummy neighborhood, let's say there's a lot of toxicity, or there's a lot of pollution, or you just don't like it, it's not pretty, it's not beautiful, you should really try and make moves to change your location. Because once again, that location is going to have such an impact on you. Now, a lot of times we're unable to change a location. I know too, because I was stuck once upon a time too. I was unable to make moves to change my situation. So I know how that feels. Now, there's also techniques. This way, you can do it, but when you start to project loving, care, and kindness directly into the earth, and you start to thank her for raising the location frequency, this is possible too. Now, when I was on Long Island, there was one area, it was off 111 and the expressway. And so it was always filled with so much litter. So I started doing manifestations to raise the frequency. And I used to say, thank you, Lord, for cleaning up the area. Well, the one day I did this, and then all of a sudden a homeless man showed up. He put a sign up and he started cleaning all the litter from the entire area. And then all the people started donating to him, water, garbage bags, anything he needed, throwing money at the man because he was doing such a wonderful job. So, but just doing a manifestation like that and loving and blessing Mother Earth, it has a true potential to change everything for everyone in that location. So even if, and I believe I have a post on this as well, I took my kids, and this was like a year or two ago, and we were on the beach and we picked up a couple pieces of litter, and as we were doing it, we made it a mantra: thank you, Mother Earth. Now, the whole download that I received from this one act of kindness or cleaning up was amazing, because they said when you're bending over, you're putting your forehead closer to the earth, and so Mother Earth kisses you with energy. I had no idea that any of this happens. And so this is the reason why some people pray and they put their foreheads on the actual earth. It's because she sends up, it's kind of like an energy flare. It's what they're showing me, but she sends that up and it tunes into the third eye and it helps you to open your third eye. So when we're bending over, we're picking up all this trash and we're saying we love and bless you, Mother Earth. All of a sudden, bam, she's responding back with her energy and she's doing a full healing on your energetic grid structure. So this is the reason why it's like, okay, even if the garbage that you see in your location is lowering the frequency, you can always be making steps to change that. And not only that, but we know that it's a ripple effect as well, because when you are seen, let's say another person walks by or drives by and they see you picking up garbage, it changes something inside of their consciousness. And now there's a frequency match. So now their odds of them picking up a piece of litter, it goes up exponentially because they have witnessed another person doing it. So we take a look how this reflects in China. So China, they have 4-year-olds, and the 4-year-olds, they go to school on their own. They walk through the city streets. They take subways. They're very, very young. Not in America. It would never happen. But in China, it's okay. And that's because the consciousness is very different over there, because everyone considers it part of their duty and their job to watch out for the children. They talk to strangers on the subway. All the children are fine because everyone is watching them. Right? So it's just a difference in the consciousness. Now, when we start doing things, and this is something small, it's just picking up litter. When we start picking up litter, it changes the consciousness in that same modality, because now other people see you do it. And now, not only that, let's say an old person sees you picking up litter, right? Now they're like, they have more respect for the area because now they know that someone else is cleaning it up too. And it's not just them and it's not wasteful of their time to do it. So now if someone comes along and they litter in front of them, they're going to get yelled at. Right. So it's a ripple effect of what happens in the consciousness. So when all the people start to come together and we all start to get on the same page and we're like, well, this is what we're going to do because this is what we love and we want to make this place nice and clean and better for all of us, it changes the entire civilization because now you're not going to start to see homes that are run down. The artists might step up and they might say, oh, okay, well, here's some donation paint. Let's throw it on the house. Let's do what's good for the neighbors. And all of a sudden, all the neighbors are helping each other. And this is how we can live in peace, right? There's no need for any of us to live in rundown neighborhoods. There's enough for everyone. The abundance is here. We just have to believe it and we have to start pulling the trigger on making our world beautiful. And so that starts with baby steps, getting all the people on the same page. Hey, we're all going to clean up. We're going to do it together because this is where we live and we love it, right? That's it. And then once we start doing that, okay, once everything is clean, it levels up. So we're not sitting here waiting for some government to clean up our area. Let's just do it ourselves, right? You get it on the community. Yes. Okay. What time is it? Okay, we got 9 more minutes because I'm going to take the half-hour break in between the shadow work. So excellent. Okay, so frequencies inside art and songs. This was another post. I don't know if I posted it up. It went in the book. But this is very, very important because anytime that we are engaged in our highest passion, let's say we're doing artwork or we're playing the piano, or I used to be a piano player. I still a little, but I haven't in years. That's why I always use piano. But anytime that we're doing music, right, we have to throw our emotions into it. And so if you're listening to like the violin, great for healing cancer, by the way, or running water, any type of water is good for PTSD and to relax those emotions of stress and anxiety. So what time is the shadow work? 8:30. So it's about 40 minutes from now, a little less than 40. So when we start to utilize any sort of musical instruments, your emotions always get triggered. And so you can see it when the person is playing the instrument. The emotions are in there. They're throwing as much love and light into it. Now, when a person is doing artwork, let's say they're painting a painting, their emotions, they get into that zone of focus, which is very mental grid. But then whatever emotions that they are expressing, all of those emotions get encoded into that artwork. Hold on one second. I'm going to use that. So when we know that the emotions get encoded into art and song, this also works with dance because dance will zone you out and connect you into the higher self and the source as well. But for this, we're utilizing the artwork. So when we know, we recognize that when someone is painting a picture, when they're very, very happy and high frequency, whenever somebody comes along and looks at that painting, they're going to feel that energy encoded into them. So we can take sacred geometric shapes. Let's say we take this image here, the flower life symbol, and we take that image and we stick it underneath water. That sacred geometric image is going to have a reflection into the water. It's going to start to make the water higher frequency. So in the future, our plumbing and pipes will all be like a hexagon or something. It'll be hexagon, so the water has to go through that shape, which encodes that geometry into the water, and it makes the water higher frequency. This is how this works. This works better than, well, the star people are stopping me from saying it, but it works and it has the potential to heal you, is the only thing the star people want me to say about that. So, but that's wonderful because now we know we can start to use geometry to encode either water or food or anything. So if you take food, let's take bananas for an example. You make a cardboard pyramid, right? So take it out of a pizza box, make the pyramid shape, and you stick your bananas in there. Those bananas, the frequency is going to be raised, and then the bananas are not going to deteriorate as fast, which basically means that instead of lasting a week, you get a week and a half to 2 weeks. Now, the more energy projection you can do onto these bananas, it's going to raise the frequency even higher and higher and higher. So now I personally had a loaf of bread last for 4 months because I kept doing the energy work. And I thank you, Lord, for all this food, right? And throwing my heart into it. We did it morning, noon, and night. just to see what would happen to the food. It lasted 4 months during the pandemic. So when we left the house, and when we came home 4 months later, it was still fresh. It was soft. There was zero mold. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh God, it works. So it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Now, when we know this, it's the same thing as a painting now. Because when you can encode something that you do, and this is why we're meant to receive items and goods from people who make it for us because we love it. Though it's like an emotional attachment to a physical item because it's encoded with love and it makes us feel good to have it. Doesn't matter if it's a crystal. If somebody just here's an example, right? They sent me Pikachu. You can't really see with the light. Pikachu? Somebody carved this. Now, if this was a hand carving and that person poured their heart into making sure it was perfect in their perception, you would love it. You would treasure it, right? So, when we start to receive goods and services in that manner, people are making things because they love us. It doesn't matter who receives it, they love the person and then they want to make it so it's perfect for them. Now, if you've ever seen someone pour their heart into their craft, let's say they're a hair salon dresser or something like that. They put their heart and soul into it, and now all of a sudden it makes it so your hair looks wonderful. Okay, this is how this whole system works. This is how the frequency behind every action works. So, when we start to recognize that there's energy behind everything, it starts to make us think twice. So, do you want to drink the regular crummy water that's been sitting on a shelf for a year? No. Or do you want to drink the nice fresh stuff that came directly from the earth? Because a lot of the waters that comes directly from the earth is healing waters. There's a lot of minerals involved in the water, and when we remove all of those minerals, then your body is it's lacking minerals and it's not properly hydrated. So when we start to realize that, okay, what is a water spring? It's a vortex energetic of energy underneath the water, underneath the ground, causing a form of levity. That levity raises the water or pushes the water up. This works the same exact way with the trees. The trees have levity pushing the water to the top of the tree. The tree is not strong enough to generate a suction and suck the water all the way up. That's not the way it works. It's levitation. So when we become consciously aware of that, this is also how the springs work. So when we're taking vortex water or water that's been given a spin, right? That vortex is circular in its nature. That's a geometry. That's a pure geometry that's found in the physical reality. Now, when we realize that, and there's a mathematical sequence behind it as well, there's a radius of the circle, there's all sorts of math that we could pull out. Now, when we realize that, when we start consuming our food according to the geometry of what the biological form needs in order to heal, that's a whole brand new science that people are currently unaware of. So let's take, for an example, there's an imbalance in the energetic grid structure. The star people are saying all this. They're saying if there's an imbalance somewhere, then you need to pinpoint what that geometry is, and then you figure out what foods match the geometry. He's saying that some people start to do this already by the visual perception, but it's not done according to the geometry. He's saying it's done like walnuts for the brain, he's showing me. And so we recognize the walnut looks like the brain. So if we eat it, we know it's going to heal the brain. But he's saying that there's more to that because it also goes according to the sacred geometry patterns. Different geometry patterns can be considered the circle, the square, all of the baseline shapes that we can see in nature. All of those things fit into the primary chakras. And then the secondary ones would be the more intricate ones. Let's say, for an example, in icosahedron, if there's a food closely related to that frequency, it's going to help with the memory. So that's just one example that he's giving us right now. So that's my star man. Okay. Excellent. So we got it's 7:59. So shadow work, we're doing the shadow work in a half hour. So anyone who wants to come, the only place I'm going to be answering the messages is daniellelipton.com. You just wait. There'll be a little message box. Just send me an email saying I want the link. We will send you a free complimentary Zoom link. This is to the shadow work class. That starts at 8:30, so you guys have a half hour. At 8:20, I'm going to stop checking. So just try and do it right now. This way I can send the links out, and then we can kick back and chill until 8:30 and then get it done. right? So the shadow work is basically it's holding everyone accountable for focusing on your emotions, focusing on your traumas, and it's helping us all to heal. Even me, because even me during the process, like I get thoughts and ideas, I write them down on a list, and then anything that I need to heal, I'm going in just like you guys. Mm-hmm. The pituitary gland, I'm not sure. He's saying grapes. Grapes work, purple grapes, he's saying. It's for the pituitary gland. But he's saying it's resveratrol. So, well, I'm going to have to Google that. It's a page. We'll Google it and we'll get back. You can use the old link. So, the old link for the shadow work still works. So, that link is good indefinitely. We're going to be doing the shadow work right now, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8:30. So, yes, wonderful. Thank you guys so incredibly much for coming. I do also offer sessions. So, anybody who wants to get on a session with me, you can find that at daniellelipton.com. That's across the top. This way, you guys know how to spell it. And you guys have a wonderful evening and many, many love and blessings. You have a wonderful night.